Hello students, hope you will be fine at your respective place. Today we are going to discuss polyembryony. Now, what do we mean by the polyembryony? Polyembryony simply means the occurrence of two or more embryos in an ovule, that is called as polyembryony, and it was first of all observed by Strasburger. Strasburger in the year 1719 in citrus fruits, mainly in mango. Now we will find that number of embryos are formed, and it has been found usually one embryo it matures and the rest of the embryos they degenerate with the passage of their development. Polyembryony, it may be true or it may be false depending upon whether the embryos they develop from the same embryo sac or they develop from the different embryo sacs in a seed. Now we have got various types of polyembryony. First one, that is called as the cleavage polyembryony. Second is the simple polyembryony, and third is the rosette polyembryony. These are the types of the polyembryony. First one, we have got the cleavage polyembryony. Second one, we have got the simple polyembryony, and the third, that is called as the rosette polyembryony. Now, in case of the cleavage polyembryony, in this, what happens in this cleavage polyembryony? In this type, a single cell, जो होता है single egg, fertilized egg, it gives rise to a number of the number of embryos, and it is most common in the gymnosperm, but it is of rare occurrence in the angiosperm. In some cases what we will see that the first division of the zygote that is normal from embryonic sac. A number of cells from the distal end they give rise to the embryos. In exocorpus वहां पर हम क्या देखते हैं, additional embryo जो होते हैं they develop from the suspensor cells of the proembryo. Second one, that is this simple polyembryony. In simple polyembryony, what is found? A number of the embryos they develop as a result of the fusion or fertilization of the various orchigonia या several orchigonia. Third one, that is this rosette polyembryony. What happens in this rosette polyembryony? What we will see, additional embryos they develop from the rosette cells in case of certain gymnosperms. Now there are some of the causes of the polyembryony. First one, embryos develop from cells of embryo sac other than the egg. It has been found that the embryos they develop from the synergids and antipodal cells. All the embryo sac हम क्या कहते हैं, in the embryo the synergids हम यहाँ पर क्या देखते हैं, the synergids they may be fertilized by the male gamete of the additional pollen tube, और हम ये कहेंगे कि जो फ्यूजन होता है they develop rather without the fusion. Embryo जो होते हैं which develop from the antipodal cells they develop less frequently, और अगर वो develop भी हो जाएंगे they are less viable. ये भी देखा गया है इन केस ऑफ फैशुलस वल्गैरिस. वहां पर हम ये क्या, इन केस ऑफ फैशुलस वल्गैरिस वहां पर हम क्या देखते हैं, एडिशनल यहाँ पर ये बात देखते हैं कि एडिशनल एम्ब्रियोज दे मे अपीयर फ्रॉम द फर्टिलाइज्ड synergids and thus they are haploid in nature. Now in this case, embryos that are arising from the cells outside the embryo sac, it has been found that the embryo they develop from the integuments have also been observed. For example, in case of the citrus fruits. Third one, embryo जो होता है they may also develop from the endosperm. It has also been found that the embryo जो होते हैं they may develop from the endosperm as in case of the illness. लेकिन जो अर्नेस्ट क्या बता देता है, अर्नेस्ट he says that these embryos developed from the egg, and they got embedded rather in this cellular endosperm. This polyembryony, it may be spontaneous or it may be induced. What happens in the induced polyembryony, that this polyembryony, it may be this polyembryony, it may be made in the culture medium, in spontaneous, that polyembryony, it may be spontaneous or it may be induced. In case of induced polyembryony, that the embryo, that it can be made in the culture medium, it can be made in the culture medium. While as in case of the spontaneous polyembryony, में हम क्या देखते हैं, that this embryo जो होते हैं, they develop that their development, that it occurs naturally, spontaneous man. And it has been found that this spontaneous polyembryony, it may be of two types, gametic polyembryony, or it may be sporophytic polyembryony. In case of the gametic polyembryony, what we will see, that the embryo जो होते हैं, they may arise from the gametes, या gametic cells of the embryo sac. While as in case of the sporophytic polyembryony, जो हम ये देखते हैं कि embryo जो होता है, they may develop from the zygote, they may arise from the pro-embryo, or they may develop from the sporophytic cell, initial sporophytic cells of the ovule. Now, regarding the significance of the polyembryony, polyembryony has got ecological significance as it increases the survival of, as it increases the probability of survival under varied condition. Nuclear जो हमारे पास polyembryony है, is the only approach to raise the virus free clones of polyembryonic that is the citrus species. In nature हम ये भी कहेंगे disease free plants, they can also be made, that they can also be obtained from the nuclear endosperm. This is all for today. Rest okay, and it rest okay. Stay blessed.